Welcome to the National Women's Fitness Academy podcast. We're here to talk about women's health, female hormones, body image, and all things health and fitness.
Hello, girls, and welcome back to another episode of the Women's Fitness Academy's podcast. I'm your host, Siggy, one of the WFA's educators and a women's body image and mindset online coach. Today, I am chatting with a lovely human being who I had the pleasure of meeting on our Bali edu vacation. So you may know her, you may not. Her name is Sammy, and she is known as Coach by Sammy Kate, who's a personal trainer and an online coach based in Brisbane. And her goal is to give girls the confidence and the knowledge during their coaching. Now, they will also gain the confidence in the gym and the knowledge that in what it takes to achieve their goals so they can eventually maintain and sustain these results on their own. Now, we know that confidence in the gym doesn't come easily for most of us, and I'm sure it didn't come easily for you, Sammy. So I would love to know, what was one of the things that helped you overcome the fear of starting in the gym?
Well, I'm actually a bit of when I started anyway, I'll just start with that. I was quite naive in the fact of going, I can do this myself. I don't need any help. And that's probably one of the biggest things I've realized being a coach now is how, not that you can't, I'm not saying you can't, but how much quicker and more efficient you can gain knowledge, gain strength, gain everything in the gym when you actually find the help. So for me, I did it all on my own, which wasn't the best, was a very long process. But when I started, I found that just speaking to people and also doing a lot of, I guess, online, looking at the online coaching and looking at people following the pages that made me feel comfortable and the people I felt comfortable listening to helped me the most.
Let's go back to you following certain people, because when I first started my journey, and I'm sure a lot of our listeners have heard me say this plenty of time, but I used to go on bodybuilding.com and I used to copy people's workout plans, but also their meal plans, and most of them were all bodybuilders or powerlifters or crossfitters. They were extreme athletes, and here me, little C, coming into the gym thinking I'm gonna do the workouts that they're doing. So I would love to know who were some of the accounts that you started following when you started at the gym?
Yeah, so the account that probably stuck out to me the most was actually Hattie Boyd. So she, or Boydell, I'm not really sure how to say her last name, but she is probably one that I've been following for the longest time. The other one, which is not someone who really, I was only sort of started to get into her gym stuff online, but followed her for ages, is Morgan Rose Maroney. She does a lot of handstanding, but she's very fit. She moves a lot and moves her body. And that was actually one of the things that attracted me the most about her, is just being able to move your body. And then Hattie was obviously about that strength training as well. So starting out, I actually started in the gym due to an ACL reconstruction. So I was doing a lot of outdoor sporting, a lot of running around, a lot of high intensity, and then ended up doing my ACL on the right side. And that sort of took me back. And I had to sort of start again. And a lot of it was strength-based as well. So that was where I started to find the gym as my sort of safe place and somewhere I would feel comfortable. But yeah, those are the two accounts I started following.
Hattie's been around for a very long time, and I think a lot of women do look up to her. She has such a beautiful way of expressing her ethos around training, but also around mindset. It's very admiring to look up to someone like that. You mentioned that you started at the gym because of an injury. How did you find that being a safe space for you to rehab and start your strength training?
Well, it didn't originally at all. When I was there, I felt super out of place. I felt very angry because my rehab it's a 12-month period to have an ACL rehab. So it was just a long time. And it was when I sort of pulled back and said, if I don't if I don't do this and I don't find this place somewhere I can come and feel safe, then I'm not going to progress in this injury. I'm not actually going to progress in recovering. So it was more about like coming back and saying, okay, well, this has to be, it has to be. And then how do I find this to be my safe space? So I started training with people I knew, so friends. So I wasn't alone. And then at the time I was dating someone who was an exercise physiologist. So it helped. His friends helped me as well. So it was just more about trying to create that space as somewhere I could feel comfortable, knowing that that's what I had to do to recover.
It's crazy to think how long the recovery was for an ACL injury, because too often when we look at injuries, we hope to be able to overcome it, as an overnight success. And I remember when I first injured my back, it took me a good, I want to say 3 to 6 months to be able to lift heavier weights again. But I cannot imagine 12 months. Like that would have been a massive blockage to train or to do life in general.
Well, yeah, so I've had two as well. So it was really, really annoying. The right one was done actually like in my last year of school. The left one was done about 2 years ago. So it was, yeah, it's almost like the second one was worse because I knew what I was about to go through, and I knew the struggles I was going to have to face. And it was actually my left one that I found myself quite depressed because I would be at home all day. My partner at the time wasn't home with me. I couldn't do anything. And at the start, that first like 2 months, you're not really meant to train at all. So you really feel very, very alone. So it was nice when obviously, or in a way, like it was hard the second one, but it was also knowing, this time, okay, in 2 months' time, I'm going to be able to go to gym. In 3 months' time, I'm sure I'm going to be able to jump. Like it was that, yeah, crazy time though, crazy time.
It's the anticipation of like knowing something's about to happen. You've experienced before and you're about to experience it again. It's just like trying to articulate that in your mind. And I'm interested to know, like, what did you find most difficult that second time where you had that surgery?
I think that, to be honest, my recovery time was probably quicker on the left side because I knew what I was able to do. But it was actually more so being older, I think, and out of action and not being able to do what I could do or wanted to do. That was probably the hardest thing. However, now that I look back on it, I, one, have the experience in knowledge around the ACL reconstructions and injuries with your knee, but I also understand how frustrating it is when you are injured getting back into it. So it's so good as a coach now to be able to say to my girls when they do have that little niggle or whatnot and they need to take a day or two off and they're frustrated about it, to be able to say like, I understand, trust me, I've done 12 months of it twice. So it's in a way a blessing that I've gone through it now looking back, because I understand the struggle and I can say I've been through it.
Yeah, the empathy side of things around injuries is huge. And especially, as coaches, we do experience many things that a lot of our clients come to us about. And I would love to open the discussion around how and why it is important for a lot of people to get coaches, because, you and I, we did our journeys first independently thinking, we know all B's and E's, but then we realized a few years in, we're like, oh shit, like we need help. So what would you say is like, the top 3 important things for, women to get coaches?
I think number one is probably, I find in what I've experienced, is comfort in the gym, because that is gym and training and lifting weights is probably one of the highest training methods that a lot of women want, or physiques that they want to get the physique, that they want. So the comfort and the knowledge in the gym is number one. A coach is going to help you with that. Walking around aimlessly, not knowing what you're doing. I'm not saying you're going to get anywhere, but you're going to get somewhere a lot faster if you do have a coach, and it's going to feel like a less lonely journey. That's in my opinion. So probably that. Number 2 is going to be everything else that comes with it. So your recovery, the things you don't think about, nutrition one. Like obviously as a PT, I'm in within a scope dealing with nutrition and what I can and can't talk about, but I do know a lot, and it's just about being able to get the client to understand what's going on with their own body. And number 3 is other things like I've learned with women's nutrition, academy is to do with your body hormones, like big things I've learned through there as a coach that I didn't even know. And as women, like crazy that we don't even know about our bodies sometimes and some things about it. So yeah, those are probably my top 3.
Yeah, I love all of them. And you made such a good point around female hormones, because I actually had a conversation with a couple of girls the other day in the gym, and one of them was saying how she constantly gets PMS and cramping during her time of the month. And I could empathize with that, because I used to suffer really bad pains to the point where I had to call in sick on a monthly basis, where now it's just like, it literally just comes. Like I would wake up and be like, oh yeah, like my period is due, and there she comes, she's here. But then women don't experience that, but experience the severe symptoms, and they're like, but isn't that normal? And I'm like, no, like it's so common.
No.
Yeah, and
No.
so many people out there are normalizing the fact that we do have the pains and we do have the lower back cramps and whatever, so forth. And it's just like, yeah, there's so many common symptoms, but it's nothing that we should be normalizing.
Very, very true. And that's one of the biggest ones that I was so shocked about when I learned about it. And you're not actually meant to feel that pain. Like it's not normal. So yeah.
Exactly. You know what? Like that's the beauty of education, being able to learn something new every day and realize, oh, I should not be living the way I have been. Change is fucking possible.
Yes. And there's something you can do about it.
Yes, 100%. Speaking of, what you can do about it, what was that main thing that struck you to become a personal trainer?
Well, I actually became a personal trainer, or started the journey of studying Cert 3 and 4, because at the time I was emergency vet nurse, and I was currently I would describe it as one of my most high stress jobs there was, just working in emergency, but also dealing with clients that basically were so stressed out that they just took it out on you. And there was a lot of abuse involved with that. So I was just like, this is it, done. Like, I can't do this anymore. And then I was like, what do I enjoy? What do I love? And I thought, I've been in the gym for like probably 6 years now from all these ACL reconstructions. So, let's try Cert 3 and 4 and learn a bit more about fitness. And I just, as I was studying it, fell in love with it. Just like absolutely everything was clicking. And because obviously I'd been in the gym for so long, it was easier for me to understand, because as we all know, Cert 3 and 4 don't really give you that much information when it comes to having to be such a person on person, know a lot more, further study, all of that jazz. But I just fell in love with it. So that was how I started, and it just, went off from there.
So good. I love how all these things like come together, and then, it also brings I'm trying to I have so much shit in my head right now that I'm trying to articulate. But I love the fact that I don't love the fact that you were in a position of emotional abuse from people, because that is not ideal. However, it placed a little bit more emphasis in your self-awareness, going, do I actually want to still be doing this? Like, do I enjoy feeling this way? Do I enjoy getting this impact from other people? It's just like, well, no, not really. And for you to just take that leap of faith and go, cool, what else do I enjoy? What else am I passionate about? Let's explore that. Because so often we see women who are so passionate about strength training, or they're wanting to lose weight, or they're wanting to do some form of, changing within their health and fitness, but they don't go for it because they fear it. They're scared of the what ifs. So I would love to know, you changing industries, like completely two different industries. What went through your head when you started making those changes?
I was so scared. Like I was stressed out. I was like, oh my God, it'd be like am I doing the right thing? But it's exactly what you said. I'd come back to, am I happy? And do I want this for the rest of my life? Do I want to be yelled at? Do I want to deal with, I guess I'm very morbid, but death on a day-to-day basis? No, I don't. Not anymore. So it was just I had to keep pulling back to myself and go, okay, no, remember this is an opportunity. And whether you go for it, and in my head I was saying, whether you go for it and you actually make a career out of it, it's gonna open doors. Like you are giving yourself more opportunities. The more opportunities you give yourself, it doesn't matter what happens in the outcome. That's why I guess for me, having that big goal is great, but also don't be set on it, because as you go towards that goal, you will open different doors and you will give yourself so much more opportunity. So that's what I did to just keep going, because I was at times like, why am I doing this?
And how was that transition for you from, going from that full-time job to starting your own business?
Yeah, well, I guess like after studying, I realized, and finishing Cert 3 and 4, I realized how much more I needed to know, because it doesn't, Cert 3 and 4 obviously does not cover anything to do with having your own business. It's more about just the training side of things. So I feel I was in a position being a very, what do you call it? I don't even know how to say it, but dealing with people all the time, it really helped me be a people person. That's what I was trying to say. And being able to start in the gym I started in and only be the only female trainer there was a massive win for me, because that allowed me, as we all know, women in the gym mostly want to see another woman. It just is a safe space. So it was just good because I got so much exposure and learnt so quickly. And not to say at the start I made mistakes and whatnot, as we all do, but it was just so much exposure that I was able to really transition. And as I'd gained clients, as I'd learned so much, I was able to drop those shifts at the other, at the veterinary practice. And it was just that sort of like balance. But man, it was at times like hard, because you have clients, then you might not. And then it's just like this, yeah, crazy time. But as I said, like I always would come back to, I'm enjoying it regardless. Like I'm doing something I'm really happy and I'm learning and I'm opening up, or I'm making more opportunity for myself. So yeah.
And you know what? I think it's a big thing by looking it into that start, like that type of lens, because as you said, like too often we'll look at the downfalls of leaving a full-time job to, following our passions. And like you said, there's always going to be the ebbs and flows, and that's life. It's never going to be consistently going linear. Like it may be for some, and like maybe for others who just feel, through the waves of it. But like you said, it's just following that passion and knowing truly within yourself that you are able, to become that coach that you're wanting to be.
Yeah, definitely.
With your clients, what would you say is one or two the main things that you see them struggling with?
I'd say one, the scales. That is like the biggest one I see. And I love at the same time, because it is the most rewarding experience to finally get someone who is so fixated on that scale, to give them that knowledge to understand it is just a number. And it is like when you actually get someone, I can't even, like I wish everyone could see my face right now, because it is the best feeling. So the scales would probably be number one, and the second would probably be that confidence in the gym. Definitely.
The scales one is very debilitating. Yes, that's the word that I'm looking for. Debilitating for women. Have you ever experienced that? Like, did you ever have a negative relationship with the scales?
I would say honestly, like I had a period where I want to say maybe a 6-month period where I was things weren't going right in life, and I started to fixate, and I actually like would find myself, this is like going very in depth, but making myself vomit in the shower at times because the scale weight said higher than what I wanted it to, or I ate a bigger meal. Like, so I did go through about a 6-month period where I did feel that way, which again, shitty, but it's helped me be able to be that more empathetic when someone is going through that and give them that safe space to tell me what's going on and allow me to try and give them the confidence to, I guess, bypass that, overcome that, understand it's okay, and people go through it. I went through it. So yeah, that would probably be the only time.
How did you overcome that?
I actually overcame it because someone heard me and in the shower, and I felt so embarrassed about it. And it was that wake up call to go, like, why are you doing this? Like, it's one number, and you got to be focusing more on how you feel. But it was an embarrassing thing, and that's actually what got me to, I guess, shake myself and go, stop doing that.
It's very refreshing to hear your experience, with your relationship with the scale weights and how you found yourself fixating on a certain, and on your certain weight during a period of time, because I'm sure a lot of our listeners have gone through that. They may be going through that right now, and it's giving them a little bit more hope, knowing, okay, well, if she can do it, I can do that as well. And especially by seeking professional help, because like we said before, the importance of having coaching is the matter of to be able to move the needle forward and give you hope and give you guidance to show you what's possible, instead of you trying to figure it out all by yourself. And then 5 years down the track, you're still doing the same thing.
100%, because like me, where I am now and what I've learned, even just being a coach as well, it's just I just want to give so much knowledge to the people that are struggling or have gone through those things, because once you have that knowledge, and you don't have to go study it. That's the beauty of getting a coach. You don't have to go study it, because a coach that cares and a coach that wants to help you will give you that knowledge. My biggest thing is that I love my clients and I want to keep them forever, but my goal in life is to give them so much that when they're at the balanced lifestyle that they wanted, the goals they wanted, they can sustain that on their own. They don't actually need me. If they want me, great. If we want to keep going because they just love it, awesome. But the goal is that. So yeah, when I went through that and I became a coach, I was like, I just want to be able to give that knowledge to the people or the clients I have, so they know they're not alone, and they know it happens to people.
Yeah, of course. And I find one of the things that we see as coaches, and I'm sure you can relate to this as well in the gym, is the tendency of women overtraining towards their goals.
Yeah. And everyone's done it. I've done it. It becomes seeing the results you want, and you just keep training. You make yourself sore. You can give yourself an injury. There's so many reasons to take a step back, obviously get yourself a coach, but have that program where it's consistent, and you're making sure everything is consistent. Progress comes mainly from consistency. So if you're overtraining and 1 week you're like, oh, I'm just not seeing enough, or I'm not feeling strong, I'm just going to keep going, you are doing more damage to those muscles that you're trying to grow and you're trying to get stronger. Like, you're not doing anything good by yourself. So reverting back to consistency and making sure you have a coach that is consistent with your training as well.
So let's say, we have someone who overtrains and they think it's okay for them to train 6-7 times a week. We notice that they are constantly sore, but they're lagging the progress. Like, what are some things that you would suggest for them to do instead?
Yeah, so I guess it would come down to, like, if someone wants to train 6 days a week, I would never recommend 7, but 6 days a week. There's nothing wrong with that if they're if they're gaining their goals. If they're not, which is probably the reason why they got a coach in the first place, it's about just explaining, okay, so you could be overtraining, so your muscles aren't recovering. So if your muscles aren't recovering, they're not going to grow. Are you eating enough food? Are you fueling yourself appropriately to train that much? Because you got to be eating a lot of food if you're training at 6 days a week. And then we can go back to, okay, you're training 6 days a week, but how's your intensity? Maybe you're just going to the gym because you're tired because you're training 6 days a week and you're not actually putting the effort into those sessions. So yeah, you're training 6 days, but how good are those sessions? Mm-hmm. So it's just more about giving them the knowledge as to how you want to grow muscle. We need to eat enough food. You're not eating enough food, you shouldn't be training 6 days a week. You're training 6 days a week, how intense is your training? So it's just about asking the questions and making sure that they have the knowledge around it as well.
So we've covered one aspect where majority, I would say, of women do tend to overtrain. However, there's also the other side of those who are undertraining as well. To be honest, I cannot relate to the undertraining side of things because I used to overtrain way, way too much. However, I'm sure there are some listeners who may think that they're undertraining. Have you come across that with some of your clients or yourself?
I would say for me, I've had periods where I've just needed a break. And that would be mostly, I'll find mostly due to mental fatigue or mindset fatigue, like, and your body just can't do anything. And it's okay to have a break. Obviously, consistency is key, but there are times where you just need to chill out. So that would be more mine. Like, I wouldn't say I'd undertrain, but there's periods or a week where here and there where I just don't train. And it's just giving my body that break. With clients, I would probably say it's more about their consistency or adherence to the program. So they might have a 3-day split or a 4-day split, and they're consistently not getting to one of those sessions or choosing to not do one of those sessions. And that's about more letting them know, okay, I've programmed you 4 days because you told me you can commit to 4 days. If you don't keep hitting one of them, or every now and then you're consistently not hitting one of them, you're actually missing a whole muscle group there. And we want to make sure we're hitting everything. So that's probably the experience I've had with my clients, not, or I guess, under training. But it's just about saying, okay, if you're not hitting the 4 sessions consistently, do we need to look at doing 3 and making sure that intensity is really high on those 3 days, but you're getting there and you're making sure it's consistent. So it's just, honestly, it's a lifestyle thing. Why are they even in the gym? Are they trying to change their body, or are they just trying to have a lifestyle, get moving, So it's just, it's all dependent on the person.
I love the fact that you're also considering their lifestyle into training, because too often we'll see people trying to fit in their training into their lifestyle, but we need to do the opposite, because again, we need to figure out, like, are you training for a specific goal? Or like you said, are they training just for the sake of getting themselves moving? And too often people will be like, oh, my coach said I need to do X, Y, and Z on these times. It's just like, well, is it actually going to benefit your lifestyle? And I know that adds extra stress, because I'm guilty of doing that myself, and I'm guilty of giving it to previous clients. Sorry, guys. I love you, but like, obviously, we learn from our mistakes. But I would love your input around that. Like, what are some things that have helped you navigate around training and your clients?
As in training, like, with their lifestyle?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess, like, it's more about it. I think it changes so often. So you start with a client, you ask them what they do for a living, you ask them what their goals are, and you create a plan. And it's really about week by week, how are they dealing with that? If I'm noticing they're consistently not hitting something, then we'll obviously adjust that and talk about that and why are we not hitting it? And then just giving them the knowledge of the importance to make sure you're there and you're giving it your all when you're there. So many times I've had clients where we've done a 4 or 5 day split and we've had to go back down. And I've said, it's not about, don't look at it as you can't do 5, so we've got to do 4 because you're not good enough. It's not like that at all. It's, hey, I'd rather you get 4 solid sessions in that you're giving, that 9 out of 10 each time, and that's consistent every week, versus 5. And then because you've really just tried to squeeze that 5th in, the others, all of them, actually, like, suffer because you're just not giving enough. So yeah, and it dependent, as I said, it changes all the time. I've had a client who was really consistently hitting 5, and then she had her job change. And so she was noticing she wasn't able to get there for the 5th all the time. So then we adjust. So it's all very dependent, but definitely happens 100%.
Yeah, it's so interesting. Hopefully our listeners are getting a little bit of an insight going, maybe I need to change the way I look about training, how it's going to fit into my lifestyle instead of trying to fit your lifestyle into your training.
100%. And again, comes down to your goal. If you're a bodybuilder, which I don't deal much of as a coach, I just personally, I haven't done it enough and personally to feel confident in training someone, but obviously I've done it before. So being a bodybuilder, there are things you have to hit and there are times you have to hit it, and your life revolves around your training. So it's completely different. Most of my clients is lifestyle clients. So we're talking about your lifestyle. If it changes, if you have a baby, if you go on a holiday, like things change. So don't think you have to change your life to fit your training. We can definitely change your training to fit your life.
Yes, I love that saying. It's so true though. And I think this is going to resonate a lot with the listeners, making them feel a little bit in ease right now, going, oh, cool, I can change things around just to fit everything. Because I can relate to this so much. There would be weeks where my diary will be packed and then I would look at it and go, shit, where am I going to put my training? And obviously, as I am a priority to myself. So of course I'm going to fit in my training. And there's going to be times where I will have to fit it in really early in the morning or later in the afternoon. I'm still getting it done. However, for some people, they would come up with the excuse going, oh, well, I can't train in the mornings, so I'm just not going to do it anymore. Or, I had a really busy day on Thursday, so I'm just going to push it to next week, and they don't get it done. Has that ever happened to you?
With me or clients?
You.
Me, yes. So definitely. So like there are weeks where I go, shit, like I'm like, oh my God, my day, I can't get there. So it's more about, for me, I try my best at the start of the week to look at my week first. Okay, where am I training each day? And of course, like I said, there are days where I've just been, things take longer than expected and shit happens, but exactly right. You fit it in. So you go, okay, this happened today. Maybe I can't get to gym today, and today I was meant to, but yeah, tomorrow is meant to be a rest day. So I'll train tomorrow and I'll fit that in. And it's about being able to adjust it because it's a priority for you. Now, as clients, like obviously we want you to have a lifestyle and we want you to not feel like your training is taking control of your lifestyle. But at the same time, we do want to be consistent. And if you have a goal, is it an interest? Or are you committed? Like, are you committed to wanting to make that change, or are you just interested? Because if you're just interested, you're not going to do it. Of course, you're going to go, it's too cold outside. I'm not going to go for my walk this morning, or couldn't get there. It was too busy today. Like, you're going to make the excuses. So check-ins, and I saw your actual, your little thing today as well on Instagram. It's so true. Check-ins are so important because it can be so uncomfortable. And I have clients that don't want to check in with me sometimes because I know they've had a bad week, but it's about me drilling them sometimes so that they go, okay, I need to do this, or I need to look at doing this. And there's always going to be an answer that I have to help that problem. So yeah, I got a bit off track there, but
no, yes. You didn't. It's all on track over there. And I love the fact that we've opened that discussion around check-ins because it does have to do a lot with the training side of things and I love how you placed it as well. Is a client, or are you interested, or are you committed? And most of the time when we get clients, they are interested in setting goals and having these lifestyle changes. When it comes down to actually doing the work, some of them are not committed, or they're not committed enough to make that change because they're either fearing going to the gym or feeling discomfort about the checking in side of things. And again, as coaches, it's for us to validate to them going, cool, you're here for a reason. Are you here for the right reasons? Like, are you doing this because you just think you need a coach just to tick those boxes, or are you actually committed to making change?
100%. And if it is just an interest at the start, what's stopping it from being a commitment? What's making, like you said, are you uncomfortable in the gym? Okay, let's fix that first, and then we'll reevaluate. But yeah, it's just about deciding, do you want to be committed to this? Do you want this for yourself, or are you just interested?
It's probably one of my favorite conversations to have with clients about figuring out why they feel uncomfortable in the gym. Like, what is that main fear that's, brewing that anxiety of not them wanting to go there? And then once you're able to unpack all of that, everything just feels so much easier. And they kind of like come back to you in the next check-in going and laughing about it, going, wow, I can't believe I was just so scared about that. Like, no one's looking at me. It's just like, yeah, no one gives a shit.
No one cares. No one cares at all. And you know what? If, like I say to my clients, if there is someone there that's there for the wrong reasons, it's actually quite obvious that they're not they don't know what they're doing either. So it's just about going, I'm here and I'm here for me. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't fucking matter. Like, you are there for the right reasons. No one's looking at you. No one cares.
It's so true. I don't think I've come across any people who are not dedicated enough for themselves in the gym. Has that ever happened to you? Have you ever come across someone who just gave you the ick at the gym?
Yes. Many times. Just like when you do, obviously as a coach, you're very I just notice everything, and it's not about judging. And when I say no one's looking at you, because no one's actually looking at you judging when I say that. What I mean is, like, for me, I definitely look at people in the gym, but I'm taking note of their form because I'm a trainer. It's just what I do. Or what they've been doing, or, sometimes I'm like, oh, that guy's doing that, he's doing that really well, or oh no, ooh, he needs to fix that. It's just how my mind works. But for me, like, there are some people that you see and they're just there to look at themselves. Like, that's one thing that probably gives me the ick, is when they're just there to look at themselves. At the same time, though, I go, you're still here. You're still here training. So, like, I don't really care. Look at yourself. I look at myself. So yeah. Sometimes you come across people, you're like, oh, I don't know, but you're here. That's the main thing.
I love one of my biggest icks at the gym, while we're on the topic of icks, is people, and I don't want to like generalize, but most of the time it is men doing their dumbbell bicep curls in front of the rig, which is in front of the mirror. And you can't get through to them by getting dumbbells like next to it. And you're just standing there going, like, come on, like, just finish your set so I can get my set of weights already.
Yeah, or just take a step back. You don't have to be that close to the mirror. But yeah, no. Mine's actually no. My biggest ick is when people drop weights and you can see that they definitely have control.
Yeah.
The whole set they've had control. And then the last one, they just go, oh, and then they just like drop it. And you're like, that wasn't necessary. And you're interrupting my zone.
Oh my God. Let's continue this ick conversation. I love this. I really, really enjoy this. What's another, to be honest, the one that you just brought up about them dropping the weights without control infuriates me. What else infuriates me? The grunting. To be honest, I grunt sometimes when I go quite heavy on the leg press, but I guess it's very different to a female grunt to a male grunt. Can you think?
Mine's definitely the grunt, right? At the last rep, it's the grunt, the drop, and then the very manly walk around, like, oh God, I've done a real good job, but like almost like peacocking around the gym, and I'm like, bro, it is no need. It's okay. We heard you. We don't need to see you. I love that I say it as he. There are some females like this too. I shouldn't be sexist, but yes, there's definitely mostly the men.
We're totally generalizing here, and if we have any male listeners, we apologize. It's just, I guess it's a natural thing for us because we see most males do this. It's very, it's not very often for us to see females doing it.
Yeah. It's just an observation, really.
So true. So true. Final ick. Final ick. Anything you can
Oof,
think of.
final ick. Um, Oof, I don't even know. I just feel like sometimes it just gives me the ick when I see people going super heavy and their form's really bad. And it gives me the ick, not at them. It's more just like, oh my God, don't hurt yourself. Like, oh, like it's just, and as a coach as well in the gym, it's really hard to find that line where you can just go up to someone and say, hey, like, I just want to give you some pointers, because it's obviously that bad that you feel you need to go up to them. But also, you're probably going to get backlash saying, I don't need your help. I don't have you as a coach, So you get people like that. So it's that ick because I'm like, I can't say anything, but I want to tell you. So yeah, that'd probably be mine. What's yours?
I'd say, to be honest, that relates to me really well, because too often when I train independently in the gym now, I do see a lot of cases of people who do train heavy or train insufficiently in terms of form. And in terms of, so something that I really, well, it's not that I enjoy doing, it's obviously because we're coaches and we're realizing people are making mistakes. Instead of pushing my own bias onto them, I usually come with what's the word I'm looking for? With a little bit of interest on why they're doing it. So I'll ask them, be like, oh, wow, like you're pushing a lot of, heavy weight. I'm noticing that you're only taking it to a certain amount of depth, or, your technique is different to what I've seen. Can you explain to me why you're doing this, or like who taught you to do that? So that way it gives them more of an open chance to explain where they taught, like where they got that taught, or did they teach themselves to do it, and then open the discussion from there. Because again, there's nothing worse than a random person coming to you, and I'm sure this has happened to you as well. There's another ick, someone coming up to you telling you how to perform when you know exactly what to do. So again, I've
had that.
Yes.
So
Oh, I've had that many, many times. Many, many times. And again, don't want to be sexist, but most of the time it is men who would come up to me and be like, oh, love, you need to do X, Y, and Z. Anyway, before I get on with my rant, instead of me pushing my biased opinion on them, again, I'll give them that open space to explain it. And then I'll be like, oh, well, I'm a coach. Would you like me to help you with X, Y, and Z? Or are you looking for solutions, or are you just here to do like your own workout? So that way I'm not just pushing, all of my skills onto them when they don't want to hear it.
Yeah, and just showing you their help as well. And honestly, I've had that in the same sense where I have actually approached someone before, and it was someone I knew, so it felt a bit more comfortable. But I'd said, oh, like, why are you doing that? And I realized they were doing it for sprint training, which is completely different as well. Obviously, faster, shorter range of motion. And I was like, oh my God, I didn't even think about that, because sometimes I just think about how I train my clients. That's different. And yeah, so it is also really good to be able to have that conversation and be opened up to, oh my God, of course, like that's great, like awesome, thank you for letting me know that. But also, yeah, just getting that like, I don't want your help. Can you just not?
So true. Yeah. We don't need your unsolicited advice if we didn't ask for it.
So good.
Oh my God. I love the ending of this chat, how we started off with your journey, spoke about, the majority of the mistakes around like overtraining, undertraining, and finished off with a little bit of fun with the icks. I've never done that before. I think I'm going to try and continue doing little segments like this just to keep it fun. For those who are listening, please let us know if you're enjoying these little, funny ick segments, because otherwise I'll fucking continue doing this.
I would love to know everyone's icks. I'd like you to do like a poll or something and be like, what's your ick? What's your biggest ick in the gym? That'd be fun.
Yes. That would be so much fun. I love that. Sammy, thank you so much for joining me today. It has been a bloody pleasure to have a chat with you. And before we head off, where can our listeners find you and how can they work with you?
Amazing. So Instagram would probably be the easiest way. My handle at the moment for my main page is just Samantha.McCuitt. Spelling is really hard, but you'll see it on this podcast. And yeah, there's a link on the link tree there to do a little Zoom call to start up your journey.
Love that. Well, girls, if you enjoyed today's podcast, please make sure that you screenshot it, tag us at the Women's Fitness Academy, tag Sammy, tag myself. And then I really hope to hear from all of you about your health and fitness icks in the gym.
I can't wait.